Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
Good morning. I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm here in the studio with Cedric Cromwell, chairman of the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribal Council, and Jessie Littledoe Baird, vice chairwoman of the Tribal Council. We're talking about the Mashpee Wampanoag's 93rd annual powwow coming up on July 4th and through the holiday weekend. Welcome to you both. And let's start with explaining what a powwow is.
Powwow is just an exciting time. It's a homecoming. It's a gathering for our people. It's the 93rd annual public powwow, and you know, we're going to talk about the beginnings of powwow, but it's our 93rd annual powwow at the Barnstable County Fairgrounds on Nathan Ellis Highway, honoring our waterways this year. Waterways are so important to us from a sustenance, travel, trade, and, you know, we're stewards, if you will, and water means a lot to us. It's part of the circle of life, and it's been with us forever. It's helped us continue to be who we are when we talk about shellfishing and fishing in general, when we talk about trade, what our people did for many years, and when we talk about sustenance, great food, you know, came from us. And so this year is just an amazing year in celebrating and honoring our waterways. So we're really excited about it.
So let's go back into the tradition and the history. How did the tradition start of having the powwow event here on the Cape?
Well, actually, the word powwow itself is a verb, and it literally means he or she is healing him or her. And so powwow, strictly speaking, is a ceremony. So it wasn't an annual event ever. It was first recorded by Roger Williams, who was one of the original missionaries to the Indians here in Massachusetts, while people associate him with Rhode Island. He was in Massachusetts first before he was banished by his peers. And he was traveling with a Wampanoag speaker, and he writes that he came across a circle of Indians that were singing, and there were two in the middle, and he asked his field guide, "What is that?" And the field guide said, "Oh, powwow." So the field guide was saying, "Oh, he or she's healing him or her," indicating there was a ceremony going on. And so Roger Williams notes, whenever they gather in a circle and sing, it is called a powwow. And so he took it for the noun. So that's where it came from. But for 93 years, we've been opening powwow to the public. And but it's a tradition that's as old as Wampanoag people themselves.
So
ourselves.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Yes.
And so that's a fascinating history. And this year, as you have for several years, you're having the event at the Barnstable County Fairgrounds. Why that location?
Fairgrounds is a great place. Capacity-wise, our powwow has a lot of people that come to it. That's why we're saying come on down. The turnout's amazing. When you talk about parking, infrastructure for people that are coming to vend at the powwow where they need to camp, and people bring their families to stay, the Fairgrounds is a great location. It's right off of 151, so it's ease of access. And let's face it, all this land was once ours, so we're having ceremony and powwow on our land.
And also, too, we have tribes that come to visit us from Central America, South America, Canada. One of the things that the Fairgrounds offers us is the opportunity for people to have more camping space and bring their RVs and bring larger families. And it's homecoming for us, but it's also a big party. So the more the merrier. We need the space.
And that's an amazing thing about the event is you really have people from all over across the country and beyond.
Yes.
And these are people who you see every year. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
So you're saying hello to them again?
Yes. So we're reconnecting with other nations and having a good time and visiting and sharing food with other nations and leaders of other nations, but also talking about Native American issues and projects that other tribes are working on. It's a time for people to come together and plan.
And now, do you also go to their events in a similar way as they come to yours?
Yes, typically in each region of the country. So this is the Northeast region. It's called the PowWow Circuit. So most nations respect the PowWow Circuit schedule. So folks generally have their powwow on a set weekend. And the next weekend, it's somebody else's in the region. And the following weekend, it's somebody else's. So we all support each other in traveling that PowWow circuit.
You know, Mashpee's powwow is so important because it was always called the kickoff powwow. And so you see the tribes just come out feeling Mother Earth, dancing. The drums are amazing. Our host drum is Stony Creek from North Carolina. They're a championship drum. They've been around for a long time. We're Eastern people, and there'll be many other drums there, Northeast drums. But people
including Wakeby Lake, our own drum, who's been a famous drum in the Northeast for about 40 years.
You got it.
There's so much entertainment that weekend. Now, I wanted to go back to the Honoring Our Waterways theme this year, and you spoke a little bit about it already, but I think of the Mashpee River and how important that is to the tribe. Tell me about that.
Well, more than just the river, one of our in our creation story, the first man and woman that loved each other were created of a pine tree, and they had a daughter. But the first boy that was created from the foam at the edge of the sea. And in our language, that word is considered an animate word. And that boy that was from the sea, his wife was the daughter of the first man and woman from land. And so in that way, we're both land and sea people. And honoring our waterways is a way of honoring our origins and creation. But certainly... none of us could exist in this place or any other place on the planet without water. And in fact, 80% of the world's population lives on 20% of its land, and that land is on waterways. So water is very important to all of us. And
for the tribe in particular, of course, fishing, shellfishing, these are all things that the tribe members have done for thousands of years. And
yes, we have Aboriginal rights that are protected by federal law to continue to practice those things that have sustained us for thousands of years. Very important to us.
And in terms of the powwow, anyone can come to the event, not just Native Americans. Is that right?
Oh, yes. It's open to the public. And I think what's important about our Native American Mashpee Wampanoag culture, our culture is so important. If you think about 12,000 plus years on this land, and as European settlers and others came to this land, they learned about our culture. And as we've learned about their culture, so our culture is to be learned by others as we learn others' cultures, and that signifies community and relations and how important it is. You know, many people that have not been to a powwow, when they come to Mashpee Wampanoag powwow, the general feeling is like, wow, what is it that I felt? And what they're feeling is our spirit. They're feeling our medicine, our energy. And they're able to walk away and leave with, you know, a taste of who we are, how we express ourselves. You know, Jesse said it's one big party, and I smiled because I think about the culture that's portrayed. And in a sense, if you want to walk away in a very fun and happy way, it's a party in a sense where, wow, I learned about the Mashpee Wampanoag culture. I learned about Native American dance styles and songs. That feeling is truly expressed through the drums. The drums are so rhythmic. The sounds, the chanting, the word voices and lyrics are so important. I'm a drummer myself. I've been drumming all my life. And, you know, just getting on a drum and expressing the heartbeat of Mother Earth, people walk away with that. And, you know, we open up the circle at times to the public for them to come out and feel the experience. And people are amazed. Did you see me? I was out there. Or seeing the different dance styles or the different regalias and the displays of color and what those various colors mean. You know, red for Mother Earth is so important.
I think one of the highlights, too, for visitors is that we have dances where we welcome the public to come out and dance with us and try to learn a step. I think people really enjoy that. And I also, too, think that there's a lot of value in not just visiting the vendors that are selling crafts from all over the country and traditional weaving and wampum, but really just for visitors to ask Wampanoag people a little bit about their culture and about our history and why it's important to them that we're in this place. I think a lot of people live in our neighborhoods and live around and really just don't know a lot about us, so this is a good opportunity to just ask an average Wampanoag person some questions about who we are.
It's a great way to learn about the culture. And for people who have never been to this event, walk me through what takes place during the weekend. You have a grand entry, you have songs and dances, and as you say, the costumes, the different entertainments that go on. What happens there?
Well, we don't typically call the dress costumes. We try really hard to steer away from that, and we use the term regalia. But during Grand Entry, people have different style of regalia, so that's going to depend on which nation they're from and what their style of dance is, and sometimes what their age is. And during Grand Entry, people line up according to leadership, elders, veterans, which is very important to us. Warriors, whether they're men or women, are very important to us. And then our men, they go out first, and then the women, because the men should always protect the women and go out first. And then different categories of children down to our tiny tots. And during Grand Entry, it's a lot of ceremony. It's welcome back. We haven't seen you since last year. We're honoring you if you're a veteran. We're giving a victory song. We're giving honoring songs for those who have passed. We're giving prayers of thanksgiving. So Grand Entry is a lot of ceremony. And this year, for the first time, we are also going to have a Grand Entry in the evening. Under the tent with lights, and it's going to be cooler as well. So I think that's going to be a lot nicer for the dancers. It's going to be cooler, and I think under the lights, people's regalia is going to look spectacular, and it's going to be exciting.
You know, Grand Entry, as you point out, is such a procession of nations. You know, I get excited about Grand Entry because, as Jesse pointed out, the procession of tribal nations, indicative of where they come from, the style of regalia, the colors, the dance steps. You know, the Eastern men warriors to the traditional blanket dancers, to our Golden Age elders, and then you see the youth out there. And they are jamming to the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and those drums just sound so good. And it's a blessing. I feel Grand Entry is a blessing as they're coming out honoring and touching Mother Earth in such a sacred way.
Now, does your tribe have certain songs and dances that you do every year, or does it vary? How do you choose that?
Certain songs go with certain dances, and there's no other way to put it. Certain songs go with certain dances, and certain dances and songs are for certain purposes. But occasionally, you'll hear the master of ceremony say, "Now we're going to have an intertribal," and those dances are not really specific to one tribe or the other. It's an invitation for everybody to come together and powwow, and for people that are maybe watching to even come out and powwow with us.
And at powwows, there's standard songs, like you have your veteran song to honor the veterans. So there's specific words, like there's a Peltier song with certain language in it that's specific to the veterans. Then you have your flag song, which is an powerful, important song as you're honoring the tribal nations' flags. And this country's flag, because in many cases, we had some of the most ancient and then most recent tribal warriors that served not only in our conflicts as Native Americans, but also in America's conflicts, all the way from the Revolutionary War. So that flag song is one of the songs that is near and dear to me because it's really talking about our nations is still here. We still remain. We still live here, you know. And so that's so important. And then when you talk about stomp dances, those are important. Smoke dances. Or if you talk about round dances, which is certainly a welcoming dance, or the pipe song, you know, which the men get out there and they emulate a pipe because that ceremony as the smoke goes up to the Creator. And there's many more, the mosquito dance. And then there's fancy style dancing, men and women, and jingle style. Those are indicative to the regalias and that style of dancing or that region of place where people come from. And then you have Eastern War sound, and then you have Southern Straight. All these songs are so unique and different, but they're specific to that place of origin, and that regalia also represents that style of dance. And so it gets very unique, and you'll see that display of different Native American style because it's so vast and unique, but special and specific to Indian country.
So many interesting things going on during the weekend, and it sounds like the Grand Entry would be something that people should really see, but also these different songs and dances. What would you tell people in terms of the best times to go to see these different events, and how should they plan their visit?
That's tough. If I had to give someone advice, I mean, it's the best time of year for me, so I don't want to miss any of it. But if somebody had limited time, I would say don't miss Grand Entry. I would say don't miss Grand Entry.
And that happens at I think 1 o'clock.
1 p.m.
On all 3 days.
Yes. And
you also have an evening one, though,
yes.
as well.
And I would also say don't miss Fireball.
Yeah.
And what time does that happen? Or
that is on the second night, which will be the 5th at dusk. And it's very, very important for people to understand that while it's dusk and it's dark, there is absolutely no photography or video at all. So
it's just an opportunity to see it and
see
take
the
it
ceremony
in and
enjoy
the
it
cultural
and learn
experience.
something. Yes.
And that second and grand entry on Friday, the 4th of July, is so important because think about the Cape and Islands. A lot of people are on the beaches. It's a very hot day. And so, granted, many folks will want to be on the beach, but they'll also want to catch this powwow. So if they're at the beach, they come off the beach, come to that second grand entry as well.
6 p.m.?
It's at 6 p.m.
6
on Friday.
p.m. on the 4th.
And I think it's going to be such a phenomenal experience for people. You're coming off the beach, you've had a long day, you're with your families. And if you really want to take in something that's so special about Cape Cod, and that's so important in Cape Cod, that's going to enlighten you, that's going to excite you, refresh you, make you feel great, come out to that second grand entry on Friday, July 4th. Experience it, bring your family out, just have a great time. Fireworks will happen elsewhere around the Cape, but that grand entry is going to be special. And as Jesse pointed out, come see our Warriors play Fireball.
There's
That's
nothing else like this on the Cape. You had mentioned the language, Cedric, and Jesse, you've been instrumental in bringing back the Wampanoag language. Is there a place for that language at the powwow, and how does that work?
Yes, actually, language is incorporated into everything we do today. Opening ceremonies will include language typically now, and it's expected of tribal citizens and visitors. And the Language Project and the Language Department, the Tribal Language Department, have a table where people can come and learn more about the language, and they can hear recordings of it, get some handouts of common words in English that are borrowed from Wampanoag, and ask questions. And we also have raffle of craft items at the language table and well-informed staff and speakers. So if people are interested in language, they can visit the language table while they're there.
And we only have a couple minutes left, but I didn't want to end without talking about the traditional Clambake, again, something so important to the tribe. Tell me about that and what goes on there.
When I was a child, that was my mother's job. My mother's passed now, so I'm having a hard week because she's not here for this powwow. But when I was a child, my mom's job was to help gather donations for the powwow. And we would start in Provincetown. She'd put the kids in the car, and we would work our way back toward Mashpee and ask each business to donate a little bit of potatoes, some clams here, some lobsters there. And we got all of the supplies for powwow donated. And the men of Mashpee would build the fire, burn the rocks, and cook the food on seaweed. And all of that still happens now. It's an ancient way of cooking. And this year it's being put on by a master clam baker, June Texera. And she is having the Lady Hawk Singers, a ladies' Wampanoag drum group, as her apprentices this year and teaching them. And so those ladies are putting on this wonderful traditional feast to raise money, and that's definitely a don't miss.
Mm-hmm. And the Clambake, if you think about it, it's a very eclectic, very unique, very special thing when people say, oh, I'm going to a Clambake. And, it's very ancient to our people, Clambakes. It's the way that we cook, with the rocks and the seaweed. And it was a very important way of sustenance for us, the way we ate. It's a delicatessen today. But if you look at the historical origins of it, our people were involved in doing it thousands of years ago. So talk about that meaning, and then come into the powwow and what Jesse expressed about the experience of Clambake throughout her childhood. There's a lot of heart and energy and medicine put into it by our people. And that's what you'll see and feel besides having some great seafood. It's going to be important.
Such an incredibly special event and unique to Cape Cod, the Mashpee Wampanoag powwow coming up next weekend. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.